this all leads us to a discussion of privacy. How does Symphony AM handle privacy?
We are Privacy is important to us because trust, when you're doing media measurement, trust is important. Trust is critical, especially when you're running a panel. You won't get very far if you don't pay attention to privacy. So as much as this is an ethical imperative, it's a business imperative. So where we start is at the very beginning, which is that our website is very clear about what we're measuring. We don't pretend that we're doing anything other than measuring your media habits. That's clear from our FAQs, that's clear from our registration survey, that's clear from our privacy policy. So we don't pretend that we're doing one thing, but we're doing something else. We're upfront about we are interested in your media habits. We want you to download this app. And we use a double opt-in process. The double opt-in process is first when you register for the panel. You have to input your email address. We have to verify it, and we have to send you an email saying, did you want to do this? Then when you download the application, you have to enter your email address again so we can verify who you are. So it's hard to it would be hard for someone to say they didn't know what they were doing because we're showing disclosures, we're showing information about what we're collecting at multiple points in the process. So that's number one, is it's important to us that our panelists understand what we're doing. And we think we've done a good job of that. Number two is privacy of the data that we have, right? So that's also important. I mean, there's hacking, there's mistakes that you can make with sending data wrong places, there's making sure that your reporting doesn't include personal information, right? There's all of that. So we've built the system so that PII stays in a particular place. We use a vendor for our panel, one part of our panel management where all the PII, personal information, name, address, phone number, email address, is all stored in a system that's been certified and approved by ISO and by other vendors to be secure, right? And it meets some federal guidelines for security and all that. So all the PII is stored there. We don't email PII, we don't, print it out, share it. It all resides on that server. It doesn't leave the server. Okay, so that's for starters. The other area of privacy that one could talk about is automatic content recognition. You're listening to what I do in my house. I could be talking about things. I could be shouting at someone. All sorts of things could be happening in my house that I don't want you to know. The most important thing we do as a company to preserve that is we take the sound sample that we gather and we immediately turn it into a numeric hash. That number cannot be turned into that sound again. So if you are having a stern, discussion with your daughter about whatever, and that sound sample gets picked up by your phone, the first thing that happens is it gets turned into a long string of numbers. That sound sample is discarded. We never see it. We never have any access to it. It never leaves the phone. Never leaves the phone. It doesn't get stored on the phone. It's gone. Goodbye. So in that sense, there's very little there's no opportunity for us to spy or peek in.
Age, gender, demo targets for advertisers. How long will that last?
As long as we're alive. The reason that age and gender targets persist is, number one, they're efficient. They're efficient because they're easily measurable and they work well enough. There are enough meaningful differences in behavior based on age and gender that they continue to be useful. And I think that will continue, that older folks behave differently than younger folks. I think that will always happen in meaningful ways. Gender, I think that there will always be reasons why women will react differently to certain things than men. And those will continue to be differences useful enough for advertisers to continue targeting by it. It's clearly not going to be have the degree of primacy that it had, and is certainly losing some now. And I think behavioral targeting and true behavioral targeting will be ultimately very important. But I don't think we'll ever get away from the really great parsimony of age and gender.